Most people think memorizing is all about brute force. Wrong. Just look at jazz musicians. They don't memorize, they chunk. Here's the reality. Your brain is like a hard drive. It struggles with constant overload. Average people stuff it with notes and numbers only to forget them. Elite musicians, on the other hand, they treat their minds like a zip file, efficiently compressing data into manageable units. Chapter 1. The problem with traditional memorization. You think memorization means repetition. Wrong. Repeating notes over and over is for idiots. Research by George Miller shows the human brain can effectively handle about 7 chunks of information. Most people try to remember 50, 100. It's ridiculous. They cram, panic, and forget. Elite players, though, use a technique called chunking. Instead of drowning in chaos, they group notes into meaningful patterns. They recognize patterns that connect. They encode musical phrases. This is how they remember hundreds of complex sequences without breaking a sweat. Chapter 2. Understanding context. Average people memorize without context. They focus on isolated notes, useless. Why? Because they lack connection. Think of a leaky bucket. The more water you pour in without sealing the holes, the more spills away. But here are the elites. They adapt to context. Researchers like Erickson explain that deliberate practice involves understanding how information relates to existing knowledge. Jazz musicians know every note has a relation to a chord progression. They see interconnections. This gives them a massive edge. Chapter 3. Visualization skills. You think if you can't see it, you can't remember it. Wrong. Most people ignore visual strategies. It's pathetic. They rely solely on auditory memory, which is deeply flawed. But guess who excels? Jazz musicians. They visualize patterns. They paint their musical ideas in their brains. Studies have shown that visualization enhances retention. If your brain can't picture a sequence, it can't hold on to it. That's why musicians see their music rather than only hear it. Chapter 4. Deliberate practice. You think practice makes perfect. Wrong. Repetition without purpose is a waste. Average people run in circles, hoping for results. They play the same scales over and over, achieving nothing. Elite musicians engage in deliberate practice. Anders Ericsson founded this principle. It's focused, effortful training aimed at improving performance. They analyze their mistakes and make adjustments on the fly. They push beyond comfort zones, turning every mistake into a learning opportunity. Chapter 5. Active recall. You think reviewing notes will help you remember. Wrong. That's only temporary. Relying on passive review is for the average and unmotivated. Elite performers use active recall. Researchers Roediger and Karpik proved this effectiveness in their studies. By retrieving information from memory rather than passively reviewing, jazz musicians reinforce their learning far more effectively. They don't just repeat, they test themselves. This process solidifies their knowledge into long-term memory. Chapter 6. Adaptive learning. You think you can stick to one learning style indefinitely. Wrong. Average people get locked into a single method. They never evolve. They'll keep floundering while talented musicians adapt and evolve. Elite musicians embrace adaptive learning. They sample styles, mix influences, and stretch their skills beyond limitations. They learn from everything around them. It's like building a wall of knowledge, each new brick reinforcing the structure. But here's the problem, though. Even knowing all this, most will still fall back into their old habits. They'll keep staring blankly at their notes instead of chunking and visualizing. Hit subscribe before you forget. We fix leaky brains here. Now here's the payoff. Knowing these techniques won't make you a genius overnight, but it will set you apart from the average. Embrace chunking, adaptively practice, visualize, and recall actively. That's why I made the video breaking down how to structure your learning like a pro. You'll thank me later. Chapter 7. The power of emotional engagement. You think emotions don't matter in learning. Wrong. Average people treat information like cold facts. They analyze, but they don't feel. This is a fatal mistake. Emotional connections fuel memory. Neuroscientist Antonio Damasio emphasizes that emotions play a crucial role in how we remember. Jazz musicians know this. They pour their soul into every riff. Every note is charged with emotion. When they feel the music, it sticks. It's not just about playing, it's about connecting emotionally with the performance. A study showed that emotionally charged experiences create stronger memory traces. That's why elite musicians don't just memorize, they embody the music. Chapter 8. Learning through collaboration. You think learning is a solo endeavor. Wrong. Average people isolate themselves. They rely on their own limited understanding. Bullheaded, collaboration is key. Research proves that social learning accelerates mastery. Jazz musicians thrive on collaboration. They play in bands, jamming freely, sharing ideas. Each interaction builds upon the last. In a group setting, they take risks, experiment, and tweak their skills based on feedback. Connected learning is a force multiplier. It applies the pressure needed to raise their game. Chapter 9. Listening deeply, you think good hearing is enough. Wrong. Average people listen at surface level. They miss details. They fail to notice nuances. That's just a waste of potential. Elite musicians take deep listening to another level. They hone in on subtleties. Joshua Foer highlights in his book, Moonwalking with Einstein, that the best performers actively dissect sounds and patterns. Jazz musicians may replay a track 100 times, searching for nuances and hidden layers. They train their ears to recognize the intricate interplay between sounds. This awareness sharpens their memory. Chapter 10. Using technology wisely, you think tech does the work for you. Wrong. Average people misuse tools. They scroll, binge-watch, and confuse distraction with productivity. Don't be that person. Jazz musicians leverage technology smartly. They record sessions, use apps for practice, and analyze performance digitally. Researchers emphasize the role of technology in modern education. Elite musicians use tech as an extension of their creativity, enhancing learning, not diluting it. Think of technology as a magnifying glass, amplifying your abilities rather than diverting you. Chapter 11. Failing forward, you think failure is the end. Wrong. Average people see a setback as a brick wall. They sulk. They retreat, sighing, "I can't do it." That's their downfall. Elite musicians, they embrace failure. They analyze it. They understand that every mistake is a learning opportunity. Anders Ericsson's research into expert performance highlights that persistence through setbacks leads to excellence. When they fail, they do it with purpose. Each misstep molds them into better musicians. They're sculptors chiseling away at their craft. Chapter 12. The role of rest, you think more practice equals better results. Wrong. Average people grind themselves into the ground. They ignore rest, running on empty like a broken car. It's foolish. Elite musicians grasp the power of strategic rest. Studies have shown that downtime enhances performance. Sleep consolidates memories. Breaks reset focus. They practice hard but prioritize recovery. With proper rest, their recall improves, enabling quicker learning. Rest isn't a luxury, it's a necessity for warriors. You see, the jazz musician's approach isn't just about music. It's a blueprint for mastering anything. They cut through the noise and focus on what truly matters. But here's the harsh reality. Most of you will scoff at these concepts, convinced you already know better. You'll cling to your same outdated patterns, rinsing and repeating with zero progress. Hit subscribe before you forget. We fix leaky brains here. Now let's wrap this up. Incorporate emotional engagement, collaboration, deep listening, and smart technology usage into your routine. Fail, learn, and rest strategically. Become an adaptive learner. Push past limits. That's why I made the video explaining how to utilize these principles in daily life. You won't just thank me later, you'll thank yourself for taking action.